welcome to our live Q&A discussion. We're super excited for today's topic and discussion. This is the first one that we're doing in this format, so we're really excited for that. I think it's going to be fun, and we have two really awesome guests joining us today for this workshop. But before we get started, just want to go over a few housekeeping items. Number one, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are joining in live in this discussion, please comment down below with any questions you have on the topic. So today we're going to be talking about college, COVID-19, and just hearing from two students that are currently in college to help navigate through some of the questions that a lot of students are asking right now in preparing on how to get to college, applications, all of that. And then also around COVID-19 and how their experience was while in college. So we'll be talking about that. So if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Please be sure to share this workshop, or I always say workshop, but this is a Q&A discussion. Share this with anybody that you think may find the information useful. Today we just want to have kind of like a casual conversation on this topic. So just have fun with us. We'll be asking a couple questions, but if you guys have anything on those topics, please comment down below, and we'll be answering those at the end of our discussion.
Yeah.
But without further ado, I want to welcome our two guests today. They are alumni from our first ever Ideal Wealth Academy,
Wow,
which
that's
was
true.
4 years ago, I think it was.
Dang,
4
that's
years
so
ago.
true, yeah.
So we have Daniel Rincon
Hello, that's
right
me.
here joining me, and we also have Andy Machik that is joining us there via Zoom. So they're going to be sharing a little bit about their experience, different perspectives, different backgrounds, where they came from, and all that. But all right, so without further ado, let's get started. So Sammy, or Daniel, sorry.
I'll go by Daniel for today.
Oh, Daniel. So let's get started. So Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Andy, you can take it from there.
So, hello, my name is Daniel. I am 20 years old, and I'm currently studying at Cal State Long Beach. Go Sharks. Yeah, so I've been a college student at Cal State Long Beach. This is my third year now, and I'm majoring in computer science.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And a little bit more background between, like, in regards to my college university history. I grew up in a family that my dad went to college, and then my eldest sister went to that same college, then my brother went to that college, and my other brother went to that college. So I have a history of people going to, actually it's a private university, right?
Yeah, the same university.
And I was the only one who broke the chain and did something different. It was kind of risky, but at the same time exciting, and I can't wait to talk more about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Andy, you want to share about it?
Awesome. Yeah. So first, I would like to say good evening, everyone. My name is Andy. I'm from East LA. First person in my family to go to college. I go to the University of Southern California. Fight on. We're actually right now we're participating in March Madness, which is
fun.
exciting for me because we haven't gone to March Madness since 2007. My bad.
Making history.
So we're in the final eight, I believe, Elite Eight.
Oh, how cool.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah. I'm a big basketball fan. I'm currently studying industrial systems engineering, which is in Viterbi School of Engineering at my school, and I'm on my third year. And I'll be graduating next summer.
Fun.
So yeah.
Dang.
A little bit around
Fun.
there.
Time flew by, man.
That's crazy. So
Literally,
that's pretty
yeah.
awesome that you're participating in March Madness and your school made it. Hopefully you guys win.
Nah.
I know, hopefully, but I mean,
That'd be
our
cool.
chances are slim, but I think we'll make it.
Hey, you made it to the top 8, so
I know.
you never know.
What more can I wish for? Exactly.
Yeah. So, are you first generation going to college in your family?
Yes, correct. I'm actually the first one. Well, my two brothers and my parents. Yeah, the first one going to college. So I don't know if you consider that first generation. You would actually. Yeah, you would.
Definitely.
So,
would, yeah.
how's that been for you, being first generation going to college?
In terms of like guidance, I believe you kind of have to look for things on your own. You can't really rely on your parents to know a lot just because they didn't go to college.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be looking for the resources for you. You have to be proactive and do it yourself. So in terms of that, I think it's just being more active in your education
Mm-hmm.
and not really leaning on someone to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Sammy? Since you had
Ugh.
four other people ahead of you
Yeah.
go to college.
It's interesting hearing Andy's perspective. And yeah, like for me, my situation is they have all these expectations for me. And I'm like, shoot, man, it's a lot. And I have to just try to reach those expectations. But luckily, my parents haven't been too strict about it. They haven't been like checking up on me every day. So, did you submit this? Did you do this? How are your classes going? Which is nice. They don't really stress me out, and it's kind of more just I trust that you'll manage. If you need help, let us know. But I trust that you got it. So it hasn't been too bad, but yeah, definitely still stressful at times.
What about the
Interesting.
pressure of your brothers?
Yeah.
I don't let them talk to me. I
Did they put any pressure?
don't.
Did they put any pressure on you?
um, Not really educationally, but when it comes to finances, heck yeah. They always don't take out loans, don't do this, do that, don't do this.
Right,
It's,
right.
it's stressful because they talk about finances all the time, but definitely
But
in
it's good
terms of
having the advice, right?
they give me good advice. Yeah, I don't doubt that their advice is good, but it's something that's probably the one thing that they do push me on.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, know
Amazing.
that it comes from a good place because I
Mm.
took out, let's see, 64,000 in student loans. Luckily, it's already all paid off, but I
That's
had to
crazy.
work really hard to do that, you know? I mean, you helped me do a lot of that. You know, you didn't know you were helping me pay them off,
In a
but you were.
way, huh?
Selling stuff on Amazon, bake sales.
Oh,
All of you guys were my
oh
employees
yeah,
without realizing.
Oh
No, but
yeah,
you
huh?
guys helped me out a lot.
That's true,
yeah.
man.
And it helped. You know, I would make a donation and then whatever I could, I can pay towards my student loan. Sometimes it was $20, sometimes it was 50, but hey, it paid them off eventually. So it makes a big difference. And
It's crazy.
you don't have to now rely on someone forgiving them. You know, you're like, I can move on with life. I don't have to worry about them.
That's
So
true.
for me, that's been the biggest
Exactly.
thing. But what about for you, Andy? Like not having perhaps anybody like as far as siblings, how has that been? Like,
Hmm.
have you felt the pressure of having to set that, I guess, standard for them?
Yes and no. I guess you can say I feel the pressure to be kind of just those building blocks for
Hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
brothers. It's because they look up to me, and you want to set a good example for them. I say no because I feel like they all well not they just both of them they both have their own kindled fire to keep on continuing their education. I don't really need to push them
That's good.
to pursue what they like. They kind of all have that mentality of just we need to go to college or we need to make something of ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's why I say yes or no. I mean, I do push them, but I don't push them in the way that the same way that Sammy says that they don't explicitly tell you, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. I just I just not expectations. I set examples, and then I hope that they follow my footsteps.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. And I think that's good. And I think that's like the best thing you can do because, you know, there's so much more opportunities nowadays, I feel like, than just solely college. And
Mm.
so sometimes like figuring that out too, like trades or certificate programs, especially if you're trying to do like computers, like what is it called? IT
Oh yeah.
or programming. Sometimes you can do certificate programs. So
Oh yeah,
there's different opportunities now. You know, it's not just college, but making sure that pursuing some sort of higher education or I don't know, some I forget what the word is, but
right. You don't like
secondary
just educating
education.
yourself as well.
Yeah, some sort of secondary education. So, why did you
Definitely.
guys choose the college that you went to? So, Daniel, why did you choose Cal State Long Beach over Vanguard
Okay,
and
well,
break the legacy of the Rincon family?
honestly, a little part of me wish I could have gone to Vanguard because the way they pictured it made it seem like the dream school. Oh, everyone's so nice. People walking around barefoot. Like, okay,
What the
is this
heck?
paradise?
No.
Like, I was like so shocked. Like, no way. There's a school that's this tiny school. It's a private university. The teachers pray for you. Like, dang, okay. can I go there? But they didn't have the majors that I was interested in. They didn't really have a lot of STEM. Oh,
Yeah, they're growing now, but they didn't.
yeah. So I had to look at just my other opportunities. And honestly, I wasn't as ambitious enough to go and apply for a UC. I was like, nah, you know what? Let me do a state school. I don't know why. And so I applied. This is kind of foolish of me, but I applied to 3 schools. Um, and you hear people applying to like 20 different schools, but I was like, nah, just 3. I know what I want, just 3. And I applied to Poly Pomona, Fullerton, and Long Beach. Cal Poly Pomona, they denied me. Fullerton put me on a wait list. Cal State said yes. I was like, all right, come here. I'm gonna go to Long Beach then. Let's do it. And it was pretty scary at first. Like, man, am I really going to Long Beach? Like, I thought it was a sad thing because it wasn't like a new environment. I've been to Long Beach a lot of times, the city. So I was like, I wanted something different. I wanted to change. But I was like, whatever. Let's just see how it goes. And honestly, it's a really sick school, and I'm so happy I got there. But yeah, I could definitely talk more about it. But I want to hear Andy's answer to that.
I want to ask you a question first before I continue
Okay.
my discussion.
Yeah.
So you only applied to 3 schools. What would you have done if you didn't get into any of them? Like, what would have been your other alternative?
That's a great question.
That's the scariest thing, man. It probably Cerritos, at least just to like figure life out, and then okay, now what do I do? Yeah, that's probably what I've done.
Okay.
Interesting.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as for me, I chose USC because I actually wanted to go to UCLA up until like my junior year of high school. I don't like the quarter system at UCLA, but I like all the athletics at UCLA, which is why I wanted to go. And it's a beautiful campus. I mean, it's a lot of greenery. You walk up and down to classes and stuff. So it was amazing. I mean, I liked UCLA, but once I guess just realized that they were quarter system, I was just like, no. So I think when I was getting accepted, I first got accepted into Fullerton.
Okay.
I heard back from all the Cal States, and then I heard back from USC, and I just stopped looking at every other college that I got accepted to because I was like, okay, USC is the one. So I just went to USC because I mean I like the dynamic there. They gave me enough money to continue my education without me being incredibly like inundated in debt, which is good. And then they had
So
the major
important.
that I wanted, which was mechanical engineering at the time. And then I switched to industrial and systems engineering for my orientation because it was more of a business oriented engineering, which is what I wanted. So that's why I went to USC.
So how many schools did you apply for?
I think it was around 18.
Dang.
Oh my gosh.
Look at me,
Yeah,
man.
it was a lot. I know. So it's a big jump from what Sammy did. Just because I didn't have as much faith as Sammy did. I was like, no, what if I get rejected from like more than half of the schools that I applied to? So I needed to have that backup for the backup for the backup.
Bro. Yeah.
That's interesting. It's like, it's so different. I only applied to 1. So talk about having faith.
Oh,
I only applied to Vanguard, but I already knew I was going to get in. So that wasn't something for me because they usually I think they're exempted. Like you would have to do really bad, like have lower than a 2.5 to get rejected. So as long as you hit higher than that in your GPA, you're almost guaranteed getting accepted. So I wasn't too worried about that. But looking back now, I wish I would have gone to a Cal State just because of I would have saved a ton of money.
You would have loved Long Beach.
But also, I think it would have challenged me to get out of my comfort zone because for me, I grew up in a Christian home, and so going to a Christian school, I was almost in a little bubble of just hearing the same things, not really being challenged, I would say, and thinking things differently. And so that's the only thing that I would have done differently. But I honestly love Vanguard. Vanguard was really an awesome school. Like, the professors are stellar. Yeah, there were some professors that I wish could have done better, but for the most part, it is a really good school, and there's a lot of support. There really is. Like, it's not hippy dippy like Daniel makes it sound, that people are walking around barefoot, but they do cheesy things like zombie night, where they chase around people with like
so
Nerf
cool.
guns. So I do remember
Wow.
that.
What's the narrative behind that?
It's
I
from a TV show. I think they stole it from a TV show.
I don't remember.
Community.
Really?
But it was
Yeah.
more about building community, and because it's such a small school,
That's
like
nice.
it's easy to do stuff like that. So I remember the first time that happened, walking from my class to my car, and they're like, duck, duck, duck. And I'm like, what? What is
Duck, duck, goose?
happening? Like, what do you mean, duck? And then I just see all these darts flying, and this guy coming after me with duct tape, because they were going to try to duct tape me to a tree because
What?
it was like a zombie apocalypse or something, and they thought I was
crazy.
I'm like, I don't even know what's going on right now. So, but it was like so much fun, and that's
So it's not part of the Christian values from the school?
yeah, yeah.
You have chapel and everything. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
like chapel was mandatory. I think 2 or 3 days a week. I forget how many days a week. They did excuse some of the requirements for chapel if you're heavily involved in your church. But you do have to provide some documentation. But yes, and that's something that I really liked, because especially like when you're facing challenging times in your life, like you just want that spiritual aspect. And for me, it was a little nice to just go to a different environment that was spiritual, that wasn't the place where my family was at.
That's true.
And so that was really nice about that it like,
Your own personal.
yeah, it was like my personal versus like at the church. It's just everybody's family, like your family too, because like your family watched me grow up, and so now I've seen you guys grow up, and so it's like family. And so sometimes when you get to step away at a college setting where there's peers around your age, it makes it really nice. So it's very different, that's for sure. But financially, a Cal State would have probably been better, but as far as like everything else, like Vanguard is really awesome. And yeah,
See, they do paint a pretty picture about it. But
it was just different.
I mean, definitely.
The largest class I had was 30 students. So that was the largest. Most of my classes,
Wow.
it was like 15 of us.
that's nice.
And that's it. And so we got really one-on-one time. And one thing that I did appreciate, I had a really hard time in my stats class, because I went straight from algebra 1 to stats. They didn't make me do geometry or calculus. So I went from algebra 1
Really?
to just straight stats. And so it was a little bit challenging for me. But my professor allowed me to take his class 3 times during a week, at no extra cost, just so that I can continue practicing the material. He would let me take the test multiple times so I can get practice, and only during my assigned class, that's when my grades would count. So he really did a lot to help me to make sure I understood the material.
Wow.
So things like that is why I love Vanguard, because
That's
they
nice.
really wanted you to really understand the material rather than just failing you, because they want you to succeed in life versus, oh, we just pass you or fail you. So very different.
Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like that's really important, especially coming from a professor.
Yeah.
When they put more importance on, you learning the material rather than, oh, it's just for the grade. You're here for the grade, and if you pass, you pass. You fail, you fail.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
exactly.
that's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah. So now, how did you guys choose the major that you're choosing? And how did you come to, I don't know, you're both in engineering, different types of engineering, industrial engineering versus computer science, but it's all under the same umbrella. So
Right.
Daniel, why don't you tell us why you chose computer science?
To say it was easy decision would be a lie.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I was, the stereotype. Oh, as a kid, I always loved building things. Obviously.
Legos.
Yeah, like I really love building things, and so when I entered high school, my freshman year, I took an engineering class, and it opened the eyes of, there's like so many different, like engineering is just an umbrella term. There's so many different areas underneath that, and so I was like, dang, I got overwhelmed, and I liked it, but I was overwhelmed, and I was like, I don't know. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school that I thought, okay, let me take a coding class, 'cause this seems kind of interesting, and I'm really into tech. If you look at my subscription list on YouTube, it's just tech YouTuber after YouTuber, so I'm really into tech. So I took a coding class. I loved it, but I didn't fit in. Like seeing all the kids in my class and all the stuff that they would talk about and the way they were, I was just so lost. It felt like I was in a room full of strangers. It just didn't make sense to me. And I thought to myself, I like this, but I don't want this to be me. I don't want to be the guy behind the computer screen just coding till 3 a.m., watching anime, playing video games. I don't know. Whatever. So I was like, you know what, forget that. I'm going to do something more hands-on. So I went to college and my initial major was computer engineering, just more circuitry. It's like a hybrid of electrical with a little bit of software involved. And I did it for the first year and I hated it. I hated circuitry. For some reason, I hated all the physics and the math behind circuitry. I just wanted to have fun with electronics. I didn't know I had to study this much. So I was like, okay, what is something I'm good at?
Takes a least setting.
And it was very clear to me. I'm really good at coding. Like all my teachers would really enjoy grading my work because it was not only just like half done, but it was actually like structured really nicely, and I did a really well job, detailed work. So I was like, okay, let me just stick with it because I'm good at it, and that's what I've been doing for these past 2 years now, 3 in total. But definitely, this is where I feel strongest in. Even still, where I can't relate with the students, I still look at all the people in my classrooms and I can't relate with the conversations they're having. I just say it's fine. I can be my own person.
You're just having fun out there?
Just having fun. Yeah, it's fine, whatever. Like, it's cool.
And so
So what's the major again?
Computer
I'm
science.
sorry.
Software engineering, computer
Okay.
science, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're doing coding then, essentially.
Full on just coding, no hands-on.
And I know there's different languages in coding, right?
Oh yeah, it's literally like an English class.
JavaScript or what?
There's a bunch of different languages, and there's opportunities in the industry for different stuff, and it's so hard to find which one should I work on. Oh, but that's a whole nother discussion. It's annoying sometimes, but yeah.
I used to have MySpace, and we did a lot of coding there, to do your background,
Really?
all that stuff. Yeah.
What?
Honestly, like,
That's fun.
looking back, you did do a lot of coding and, like, JavaScript to get, like, the background that you want and the top 20 and all these different things. And it's like, it kind of gave people an introduction into that sort of world, because now I have friends, because that was when I was in high school. So now I have friends that are actually in that industry. And I'm like, I wonder if, like, MySpace like introduced that to them,
Honestly,
because like, oh, if you wanted to do certain things, you had to write your own language to have like a shooting star in the background of MySpace.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you would go into I used to do it all the time. Like this was like a little side hustle for me. Like I would charge some of my friends in high school like $10, and I'm like, yeah, I can give you like a top 100. And I just knew like how to do it because I would look in the code. I'm like, okay, this is where you change it. So it kind of gave me an introduction to that. But
we need more of that today.
I know.
Damn.
MySpace needs to do that.
That's pretty cool.
But anyway, what about yourself, Andy? How did you decide to do industrial engineering?
So the epiphany did not come to me until orientation, as I stated earlier. I wanted to go into mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Because at high school, it was like I was taking the highest level of math, and I took physics, and I was like, well, I'm pretty good at it, so I just went into mechanical engineering. But like upon hearing just sophomore and junior stories of mechanical engineering, like how much work they have to put into physics, like math, knowing thermodynamics and all that stuff. I'm not really fond of physics. I really don't like physics, and physics is one of like the hardest building blocks in mechanical engineering. So my advisor suggested I go into industrial and systems engineering based off of the description that I gave her. It's more of a business-oriented type of engineering, and you can work in like manufacturing. It's spread out through many divisions, departments. So I decided to go into that. I've stayed with it for all my 3 years, and I like it. I mean, I enjoy it. You get to meet a lot of new people, a lot of professionals in the industry that have gone from mechanical, civil to industrial, just because they realize that it's more of like a management type of engineering where you manage all the engineers, projects, And I just like project management. It's like putting all the building blocks together and making something out of it. So that's why I'm there.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And I can definitely see that in you. You're very good at organizing, putting projects together, and creating a timeline. So I can see why you would
I
go
love
into
that
that. So that's perfect. You're great at managing
organization.
people,
I love it.
bossing people around.
Basically.
uh, I'd hope so. I'm going into that, so I hope to be good at it.
But it's funny how physics and math both killed you and me.
I know. I mean, I
It's,
still had to take all those math classes.
They still
Don't
make
get me
you,
wrong,
which
and
makes no
also I had to take
sense.
physics. Yeah,
oh, really?
I've still
exactly. It's
had to
always a
take
requirement
physics,
for
yeah.
engineering, regardless
Interesting. I
what
didn't know
you're
that.
in.
Like, it doesn't even make
But
sense why you need to, but
Sorry, I'm pulling up the
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Um,
but
no, though, that's very interesting. So what do you guys? So based on what you guys just said, because this is something that students ask me all the time, is that are you able to change majors along the way? Because a lot of times you go in thinking you want something, and then
Stick
halfway
with it.
through, or a semester
Yeah.
in,
right,
or a year in, like Sammy, you decide to change, or Daniel, sorry, I keep calling you Sammy.
It's my middle
Daniel,
name. It's
that's his
yeah.
middle name. But you decide to change majors. And so, what do you guys think about that? And is it hard to do? Is it common?
It's easy on paper, but the hardest part is you're just your own mind trying to decide what should I do next. Like, it's easy. You just go to the office where advising is, and
Mm-hmm.
you tell them, give them a reason, and they switch it. It's real simple, but I think the hardest part is just you're in your own self trying to decide. But it's super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Practical terms, it's really easy. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and I think um, changing majors. I think for me, um, Sammy said it was mental, and it's definitely mental for me because I have a fear factor. If I
Mm.
switch majors late into my career, I'll be backtracked. And like I said, I like organization, and I like the 4 year span. So like to me, it's kind of a if I'm backtracked, it
Oh,
kind of just it's like a fear factor for me.
that's another
Yeah.
aspect of
But
it.
I know in
True.
terms of like my friends, a lot of them had switched. They see like there's just no backtrack for them. Sometimes it can hold you back a semester, maybe a whole year. But I never think it's bad to switch them. I mean majors
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because I mean you're going into college, you explore different topics, you learn your interests, and
It
it's
happens.
always
Yeah.
definitely a good thing. Better just take those 2 years of your life than take those 4 years of your life and deciding what you want. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good thing if you're really into what you want.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's like a normal thing. Don't think too crazy about it. Like, I had a friend group that we started computer engineering together. Um, one friend and I switched to computer science. One friend switched to business, and the other friend dropped out of college. Like, we all split like
Oh my
almost.
gosh.
Um, don't follow the fourth person's advice, but basically, like, it happens. You discover, you see what you like when you don't like. It happens. Don't be too worried about it.
Exactly. It's never a bad thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even just for me, I wanted to go into psychology, but there's just like engineering, there's so much that you can do with psychology. And
Mm-hmm.
so trying to narrow down what I wanted to do with that degree is what made it challenging for me. Is like, well, do I want to do marriage and family therapy? Do I want to be a high school counselor? Do I
Mm.
want to do my own practice? What do I want to do with this degree? And then I figured out, well, I like working in business and I like working with people. And that's how I decided, well, human resources. So that's how I was able to bring both of them together because I started working since I was 18. I
Mm.
was working, and so I really liked that, but I also wanted to do some sort of like social work in a way, like helping people. And human resources gave me a little bit of that. So that's how I was able to bring my or narrow down my psychology degree into something that can transition into a career.
Yeah.
And also, too, one thing that I tell students when thinking about college and how to pick a major is don't let others influence you, but
Oh
rather
yeah.
you decide. And this is very common, especially when our parents are immigrants and have like really high expectations. A lot of the times, our students, I feel it's still very common that they get pressured into either doctor, being a nurse, some sort of the medical field,
Don't do
law,
arts.
what
Yeah.
else?
And if you want something like arts, like, no, don't do that. Stick to more of this. Stick to more of that. And it's just like, I mean, my brother's
Right.
getting mad because he did art,
Yeah, he did.
film
He did
production. So
watercolors.
water.
I feel
Yeah.
like also when in terms of majoring, there's also the option of double majoring if you
Yeah.
or just
So
minoring as
true.
well. If you have interest in various different topics, you can always double major. You can always seek a minor.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's options where some schools give you the alternative of making your own major with different
Interesting.
classes that you take. So always like doing your research on what you like and what you can do at your school because every school is different. You can't just give someone a set amount of steps that they should follow just because every university has their own rules. So I mean, definitely exploring those options are always an alternative.
Yeah, no, definitely. And something for me that helped me since I knew I was going to go to a private university that was going to cost more. And I, at the time, just came back from Texas. So I wasn't going to go right into a traditional university. So I went to community college. And that's where I was able to explore the different
Mm.
types of majors within psychology or careers within psychology. So because it was at a low cost. So sometimes I tell students too, if you're not decided and you want to explore, I don't know, 3 or 4 different things, maybe going to community college for the first year and exploring those sort of majors and seeing what you want to do, and then, transferring in 2 years might be a more cost efficient way, but also a way for you to just not feel so guilty, because some students feel guilty about the cost of like, well, I don't want to waste like $2,000 or $10,000. Well, community college for the most part, at least your first 2 years are free. So if you want to explore, maybe doing something like that, but being disciplined. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that, I'm very fortunate that my parents were always like, no, you have to do things by a certain time. And so I would take all the classes required so I can transfer on time and graduate on time. And that's something that I see a lot of times in community college is that they'll go and take a couple classes and then work at the same time, and they've been in community college for 20 years. So that's what happens because you have to have that self-discipline. But, something that you said earlier, Andy, is that, it might backtrack you. And the way I see it is like it might backtrack you, even if it backtracks you a year, but then you end up graduating in something that you're more passionate about versus having to return to college, which I see all the time, especially with friends that I have around my age that are like, well, I changed careers now and they require that I have a degree, so I have to go back to college. I knew I should have done it
That
when I was
sucks.
there. Then it's like, well, now you have 4 more years or 3 more years of school that you have to do versus like backtracking when you're 20 years old for a year and not having to go back. So, not being so hard on yourself, I would say, and maybe doing some summer classes or winter courses.
Exactly. I feel like just I'm sorry, but I feel like the one of the most more important things that you said, Jima, was
Yeah.
just the discipline because no matter how long it takes,
Yeah.
always having that discipline, no matter where you go, if you're
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, you're gonna get to your goal. And
That's right.
for people who are worried about going to community college and supposedly wasting 2 years of their college life, and end up taking 6 years, I think always being disciplined
Mhm.
is one of the most important things
Yeah.
uh, to higher education and reaching your goals.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was still able to graduate in 4 years. Me and my brother Carlos both graduated the same year, but I mean, I graduated school in 4 years. Even though I did 2 years in community college, I did 2 years at Vanguard, and I was still able to graduate. But you just, like you said, discipline. I took summer courses and winter courses just so that I can make sure to graduate on time.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so another question that I wanted to ask you guys is around scholarships and FAFSA. So, more so on scholarships, like students ask me this all the time. Where do you find scholarships and how do you know where to go or what to do to find these scholarships? So, Daniel, I don't know if you want to start with that.
I don't know much about scholarships. My success rate is pretty depressing, so I'll pass it off to Andy.
Oh my gosh. What
Uh,
about Ideal Wealth
Just
Academy?
gonna be
Are
honest with
you
that
kidding
one.
me? Ideal Wealth Academy gave you a college scholarship and you.
That one was great, but the success rate overall is pretty low. So I'll see what Andy has to say about this topic.
I think the success rate for everyone is pretty much low, but if
Yeah.
you expand the amount of scholarships you apply to, maybe even on a daily basis,
Yeah.
the success rate goes up. FAFSA always, Cal Grant always, if you're in California, if you're staying in California. Um, Thankfully, my school sends me emails like every single day, maybe like 4 or 5 emails, and sometimes they have scholarships from different companies.
Mm,
So they all like I always apply to those
mm,
if I qualify, obviously.
yeah.
Just because it's like $4,000, $5,000. So that's
Right.
Dang,
like 4,000, 5,000. That's a great
that's
help.
nice.
Websites like scholarship.com always have scholarships. I have a neighbor who's actually in his PhD, and all the scholarships that he's gone through, he sends them down to me. So it's
Oh,
like
nice.
that's a great help. And then just asking people as well, like my friends, some of them are there on scholarships too.
Mm.
So just asking, like, oh, what do you guys do? They give you more information. You just build and build and build and build. So it's just you definitely have online websites that just have millions of scholarships. But also
Mm,
looking at companies like Coca-Cola, like Jackie Robinson also has like a really huge scholarship. Gates, and just looking online, just different resources, asking people. I feel like
You miss
there's also I
100% of the
think it's
shots you don't take.
what happened?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
oh.
definitely. There's also this. I think every school has this resource center for students where they have a bunch of scholarships as well. But definitely looking at checking into that because they always have help for students there.
Yeah. So you mentioned three things. One was networking, how important that is. And that's something that I always tell the students and anybody that asks for advice, like, well, how do I change careers or find a different job? Or I'm like, your network, honestly, is your biggest net worth because it is so much easier to get a job at the place you want if you know someone than if you don't. Because then you're just competing with everybody else. Same thing with scholarships. Like, you want to go out and try to search for some. Well, okay, let me ask someone that's in the same major that is that was in the same place as me. How do they do it, and where can I go? So perhaps Sammy or Daniel learn from Andy
I know.
and go to your resource center because Vanguard had that too. But other things to keep in mind is like if your parents have any sort of insurance, whether it's for car, apartment, sometimes those companies themselves offer college scholarships for their students if their parents have a policy with them. Another one would be banks. Financial institutions offer scholarships all the time that people don't apply for. And so if your parents have a bank account, more times than not, that financial institution offers a scholarship. So I would be asking around January, February because they start opening up in the spring.
Mm.
And like Andy mentioned, the more you apply, the better because then the chances of you getting one are much, much higher than like Daniel said,
It's my situation with university applications.
don't apply for any, so then you won't get any.
I think if
um,
you want to set yourself up for being a good candidate for scholarships, you put yourself out there, just like doing things around your community and always being very diverse. Being that the term
Mm.
Renaissance man is a very, very good thing
mhm.
because like you spread yourself out into different things. You could work during the summer, you could help a nonprofit, ideal. You could always do like volunteer work
Yeah.
around the community, and you could always put that on your resume. And
That's true.
Mhm.
scholarship applications always ask for things that you've done for your community, and what you've done for yourself as well. Always being prepared, and that's one of the things that will put you on the top tier of scholarship applications.
That is very true. I'm glad you mentioned that because, that's something that I actually really admire about you, Andy, is that you're very good about that. Like, hey, can you add this to my resume or can you add this to my reference letter? Can you recommend me because you're very on top of that and I think that's what's helped you with your success rate as far as scholarships because I'm like, oh my gosh, Andy is on top of it when it comes to scholarships
I
all the
always ask
time.
him.
And I don't mind. Like, it always makes me happy to be able to help anybody because, I think that's really awesome. Because I had one friend in high school that I remember when we graduated and they read off all the scholarships she got. It got so annoying because it was 10 minutes in and they're still reading off all the scholarships that she won. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how many do you need? Like,
Share
really?
some.
And it's
Exactly.
because, like, a lot
I
of them
know.
go untouched because people don't know about them or not everybody applies so that they have all this money left over And something that I learned too is like the name on the scholarship might say Latino first generation or something for men, like men's Latino scholarship. Let's just say that. But if you look at the fine print, a lot of the times females are also able to apply. It's just that maybe the name of the organization is called differently. Like IDEO CDC, Instituto de Avance Integral Latino, even though the name might say Latino in it, but we won't turn down if you're, Asian, African American, white, or whatever. It's just that sometimes people just focus so much on the name that they don't look at the fine print that anybody, as long as you meet the financial requirements, you can apply. And so there's a lot of scholarships that go untouched because of that. So
Exactly. Sometimes in the requirements they say they strongly want a certain group of people, but they would accept
That's
other people as well.
yeah,
So yeah,
that's
always
exactly
reading
it.
the requirements is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, and that's something that I learned from my friend. Her name was Maricruz, and she had so many scholarships. I'm like, oh my gosh, like she went to Harvard, and they paid for her
Mhm.
apartment, they paid for her to have a car, they paid for everything because of how many scholarships she had. And it's because like every weekend she would spend time just writing scholarships for her last semester or her last year of high school. And now, I mean, that's amazing, right? So, um,
Shout out Maricruz.
shout out.
the next thing I wanted to ask you guys is around AP courses or advanced courses. I don't know if you call them honors courses. Do you feel like those are necessary when going to apply for college?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess it's important because you stand out for applications, but when it comes to just like college in general, I'd say my personal opinion on it is it's kind of a waste of time because you're stressing yourself to the max in high school. You have people take AP art. Then you have me in college taking a photography class that I actually enjoy and it was super easy. It's the same value. In high school, stressing your butt off just to pass this exam. Where I'm here just chilling, taking pictures, same value. So I would not say take an AP art class, but I mean, again, it might look nice on applications, but on the long run, I enjoyed that way more than the stress of an AP course in high school.
And you learn more, right?
And you learn more, yeah. So it's crazy because like a AP history course in high school is so stressful. It's super demanding. But you take a history class, a GE in college, it's so chill. The professors, they want you to pass. They know it's just for your GE requirements, so they're just super easy. It's so hard to fail one of those. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy?
I have a different view than you do, Sammy. I think I in my personal opinion, if you have a set major that you want to go to in
Mm-hmm.
college, taking AP courses and honors courses outside of high school that'll help you get into that major is very important.
Yeah.
So for example, I took like a AP calculus, and that's like one of the requirements for
Mm.
engineering. I was able to like knock off that class in college just because I passed the exam. So
Mm.
gear if you want to take AP courses, you gear them towards what you want to do in college because it will
Yes.
help you and it will give you credit in college as well. It'll help you take out some of those GEs sometimes, some of those like major credit courses. And it'll definitely look good on your application if it's um related to what you want to do in college. I took like a robotics course, I believe,
Oh, wow.
which was from the local community college, and it was for coding. So I was able to knock off one of the two classes for coding in my engineering major. So that was helpful.
That's
So I
nice.
think like you said, you either take the AP art or you take photography. Yeah, if art doesn't have anything to do with your major, why are you gonna take AP art? You might as well just take photography and learn something out of it, you know
Mm.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
if it's like between taking one class or the other and the AP course helps your major, you might as well take the AP course. You know?
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's very key is like making sure that it's targeted towards your major versus, oh, well, it's just an AP class, it'll look good. Um, you want to make sure it's more focused on your major. So now
Exactly.
transitioning and moving into college. So looking back, what is something you could have done or what can students do to better prepare as they go into their first year of college? This is their last semester of high school. I know things are very different from all of our semesters in high school because right now everything is virtual. So students may not have the graduation, the prom, the grad night, all those different things. But thinking as far as like courses or things to do during the summer, what would you guys say or advise to prepare the students with?
Oh man, I thought of I want to think about this a lot, and I think what I would advise is, just in hindsight of everything we've gone through, burnout is so real. I know Andy could agree with that. Burnout is so real. So definitely that summer before college, just take it easy. It's gonna be
Yeah.
very stressful the upcoming months. So take it easy. Don't try to fast forward and get into it right away, and just like take it easy. Enjoy these last moments. Um, and definitely something that I did that was really cool is I had the opportunity to do like a 2-week training at my school before, like in the summer, for STEM preparedness.
Oh yeah.
So I was going to campus for 2 weeks, just on, I think it was like a couple times throughout the week, and it was nice just to be able to, okay, this is the school I'll be going to. Where are the restrooms? Where's the cafeteria? Where's that class? Where's this class? And just kind of easing my way into it rather than just stressing myself out. So definitely try to take it easy. Don't overdo it. Yeah. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think you should definitely go visit campus while
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yes.
on your break. Just getting used to campus where everything's at, and make sure you feel comfortable because you don't want to be looking for your classes on your first day.
Stressful.
I think, like you said, like burnout is real, and I think I tried working that summer before going to college,
Mm.
and then I realized I was like, I'm only gonna have 4 more summers left before I start working. Depending on what you're gonna do, you're gonna be working for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
You don't want to spend those summers, just doing something. Well, during at least your first 2 summers, I would recommend working your last 2 summers of college. But
Yeah.
you don't want to, you want to enjoy your summers. You don't want to burn yourself out. And I think another important thing is like mentally preparing yourself for college. It's not the same thing as high school. You have to
Very
be on
true.
top of like your work. You have to take it more seriously just because your GPA has a great effect on usually like the jobs that you get during the summer and even after you graduate.
Mhm.
So being mentally prepared to take those classes and to put in your best effort, I think is very important to do during the summer.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. I think you guys both hit on something very important is that visit your campus. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I did a couple of weeks prior to and it helped me cuz okay, I know where this building is, I know where that building is. My college campus is tiny compared to both of you guys. Like your guys is nothing compared to ours. Like you can see all of my campus from the parking lot.
Huh?
So, but you still want to know where
A big
things are
difference.
at. So, I think that's very
Exactly.
true. All right. So,
Exactly.
transitioning a little bit now into COVID-19. So, how has that been going to college? What are the pros and cons with virtual instruction versus in-person instruction? And you both are engineering majors, so
Ah,
that's
it's
probably a
interesting.
little different than someone majoring, I don't know, in
Theater.
psychology even or sociology,
Yeah.
where it doesn't require any hands-on, perhaps, or labs, versus both of you. So anyway, Daniel, what do
It's
you?
it's definitely nice schedule wise, but the burnout, like I say, it's real, and you don't have the same escapes as you did before. Like before, um, walking into class, like from the parking lot, it was my moment of just putting on my earphones, listening to a podcast, and just getting my brain ready and prepared for it, and kind of just thinking about, okay, what did we learn last week, and just at that time of preparation. And then after class, walking back to my car was a time to process everything that I learned. Whereas now, pop open my laptop, stare at my screen for 2 hours, close it. Oh, what am I gonna eat now? And there's no processing time. It's just on and off, on and off, on and off. And this
Mm,
constant routine of just turning on and off creates this burnout. Whereas before, you had those long walks, you had the drive to school, you had all these different opportunities to just sit and think.
interesting.
So it's definitely nice
Exactly.
schedule wise, but it comes with a lot of consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no like warm up period, like you said. You don't have that walk.
Yep.
Zoom fatigue is really real.
Mhm.
Pretty
Oh
sure
yeah.
everyone knows about this. Everyone's taking online classes, so it gets tiring looking at a screen, especially
Mhm.
like as an engineering major too. You have to be on your screen constantly, even for
Yep.
homework. So you get out of class for the rest of the day, and then you have to go to homework, which is
Mm,
you know online as well. So I mean, it's hard managing this COVID university, but
yeah.
I think taking, like a lot of people say, working out helps too. Getting outside,
Mm.
Yeah, doing
going
some
for a run.
yoga.
Exactly, doing some yoga. It's definitely helpful. One thing that
Yeah.
I miss from campus is just like getting out of class and just going with your friends.
Yes.
Just going to get something to eat, something to drink,
Yeah.
just forgetting about class for a moment. You can't do that here. You're stuck like within four walls of your room, and you don't have anyone to talk to. I
Your
could probably
mom.
I call Sammy sometimes,
Yeah. That long
but it's
calls.
not the same as, yeah, as being with them,
Yeah.
you know, during the even on weekends, just because everything's more often than not closed.
Mm.
So it's just time management and just getting out, making sure you get the stretch in your joints and you get the little energy boost
Actually
throughout the
stand up
day.
every now and then.
Definitely helpful.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Are schools gonna stay virtual for next semester? Do you know?
I I've heard people say that by fall semester they'll go back in, but it's tough to say. There's always that what if spike in, like out of nowhere there's a huge increase, so it's hard to say.
Exactly.
Mm. Yeah. So I
I think
think.
for us they're gonna be hybrid classes.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. Okay. I had hybrid classes, and it was sometimes nice because you just went in once every 2 weeks instead of or once a week instead of 3 days a week. The
Mm.
other 2 days were at home to do the assignments, which was nice. But I can definitely see that. I mean, I don't go to school full time, but I do meetings and workshops and discussions like this, and it does get tiring for sure just doing the screen. Because then, same here. As soon as I'm done with work, well, I'm back on my laptop again for 24 hours, just writing emails, responding to different things, and doing all the project management. So it does get tiring on your eyes. So I think what's helped me for sure is like you mentioned, Danny, is going on long walks, and I've been doing that a lot. I've just been going on walks, or whenever I have to do a Zoom call, I take it on a walk because it
Mm.
definitely does help my mental clarity and just getting that fresh air, but also getting out of that cave because
Right.
we put out blackout curtains in my office or room, and it just feels so dark all the time that I'll walk out. I'm like, oh my god, it's already nighttime. Like, what the heck? I didn't even realize
So
because
true.
it's just dark in there, and so sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to step out of here.
Yeah.
But all right, so I don't know. The
Exactly.
last thing that I wanted to ask you guys, is there any sort of other advice that you guys have for students, or anything else you would like to add to the conversation?
Yeah. I think just the biggest things that something that I've realized, the biggest thing that you're gonna carry with you for the rest of your life aren't gonna be the stuff you learn in class, but really just all the relationships you built in college.
Mm.
I know looking back from when I'm 50 years in the future, I'm not going to be thinking about my professors. I'm going to be thinking about the friends I've made. I'm going to be thinking about the club that I joined, Navigators. Shout out to Navigators. I'm going to be thinking about all those friendships and all those relationships I've built. And so, just my last word of advice is college is an experience that you need to have not just with yourself, but expand it out. Have it with your friends. Like Dreama said, your network is
Your
your
net.
net worth. Like it's so important to just actually build a social system and not try to just do it all by yourself. It's nice having those friendships and you can carry them with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think as well the relationships, but also I take a lot from people's experiences.
Mm.
Not only my friends' experiences, they come from like different states, even different parts of the world, but also
Hmm.
like my professors. They're very knowledgeable
Yeah.
on what they do, on what they teach. Learning from their experiences like really made. They have so many stories and work with so many people, so many actors, so many people that we only see on TV, but we may not ever get to meet.
Dang.
All right.
Just like learning from those experiences, learning from people's mistakes
Mm.
is like very
Mm.
important to me, just because it makes you open minded and it makes you like realize that there's more out there in the world than just your little bubble, your little
Yeah.
city that you live in. You know what I mean? So I think learning from those experiences and taking them to heart and just you can. I always share other people's experiences as well. I learn from one friend and I share it to another, and they tell me their stories and I say to other people. I mean, it's just that networking connection as well that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, Sammy, is very important in college.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's something that I've learned too and found very, very valuable as an adult now, being 30 years old, which is crazy to think about, but is having that network of people has really made things a lot easier in life, because that's how I got my first internship that I got, and I got started with my first career was because I knew people in that field and in that company that I was able to pick up the phone call and say, "Hey, can you get me just an interview and I'll take care of the rest." And like you mentioned, Andy, learning from others' experience and lessons that they've, learned in their past, whether it's mistakes or things that help them improve or reach, those are all valuable information. Like what you're learning in school is really good, but also the lessons that people can share from their experience is very important, and continuing on with those relationships, because you just never know. You never know if maybe that professor leaves the university and they're now your hiring manager or your peer at that company. Same with the people that you're working with. It's such a small world that as you begin working, you'll realize how much smaller it is, because you'll run into people that are like, oh my gosh, that's right. We had one class 4 years ago and now you're here working with me, or now you're here at another nonprofit. Like, it's a very interesting world for sure. And Sammy, like you said, just continue to build those relationships. Getting involved in like different social groups too is very valuable too. Different clubs, different networks, because you just never know who has what connection that can introduce you to who knows who or what. And that's something that I found. And I always tell people, like, your network is super, super important. If you can do one thing, is network with people and continue to follow up with them. Just those little touch points, like remembering little things about that individual, especially someone who you look up to and want to pursue that same field, those are really important, and building that. But anyway, so with that, is there anything else you guys would want to mention? If not, thank you both so much for doing this. This was fun and very
Yeah.
different.
Oh no, this is
It
super
was.
fun. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if anyone has any other further questions, I mean, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here to help
Let me
people,
see.
and
transitioning.
and kind of like one last thing I wanted to say about socializing, like even the fact that you might be in the classroom and you're in the back of the classroom, the kid next to you is just as stressed out as you. Why not just say hello, crack a couple of jokes? You guys will end up friends, maybe not, but it's the simple things that matter. I've had a huge class before with like over 500 students, and a kid next to me just started like joking around with me about the professor. And it really made my day. And it's like the little things that really go a long way, and even opening the door for someone who's
Exactly.
running late to class. It's so important that we just
Right, right.
life's moving so fast, and we sometimes neglect the fact that we're not the only people in this world. There's so many people in the same boat. Um, the boat
Yeah,
is
we're not the main
sinking.
character.
No, I'm not gonna get super deep on this.
Oh, sounds like you're gonna preach.
Yeah,
I don't want to get too
it's
deep on
definitely
this.
easier said than done
Yeah,
to like network and stuff. But I mean, just put yourself out there and talk to people, like you said, during classes. Not necessarily make fun of the professor, even though
no,
sometimes
not. I'm sorry.
it
I take
may
it
be
back.
something funny.
Oh my
No, I
gosh.
mean sometimes we do that, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, just starting like little small talk, and then as you see that person throughout the semester, they'll get more and more comfortable with you, and you'll
Mhm.
build a
Yeah.
relationship. Whenever you need the homework, you can always hit them up, and they'll be more than happy to pass it on.
That's right.
You guys do each other favors like that, and yeah, the
So we
relationship is very important.
we do have someone saying hello from Peru, which is interesting. So there's people from Peru
Wow,
watching us.
Peru,
Nice.
Hello from you,
crazy.
Peru. Jason says, good advice, Andy. Usually people get 1 out of 100 scholarships they apply for. So that's awesome.
Yes.
That's very true.
Makes sense.
My Amparo Rincon says, excelente, with a thumbs up. And Joshua says, good evening, Mr. Machik, UCLA March Madness.
Yeah,
So,
actually, they did win, so we'll see about that.
yeah, well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate this. And we hope to have you guys again joining us, perhaps on a different topic. And if anybody has like any other topics that you would like for our special guest to talk about, maybe we can talk about Ideal Wealth Academy next time, since we didn't get to touch on that. And, some things that, things have improved now. We've done other things with the program. We can talk about that, but also other topics. But anyway, thank you both so much for joining us. I hope everybody has a lovely rest of their day. Thank you, Andy, for joining us from your Zoom. Good luck with the rest of your day and the rest of your semester. Same with you, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. Have a lovely rest of your day. I don't know what you're.
Thank you. Likewise.
Oh, yes, COVID. Sorry, my brother's over here reminding me about something. It looks like he's telling me to put on lipstick or something. I'm like, what? Yeah, so everybody watching, if you need a COVID test, our facilities are open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. You'll see it on the screen right now if you need the address. The test is free for everybody. You get the results in about a day or two. I got my results the first time I took it in a matter of a few hours. So if you need that to get back to school or to get into a job, or if you're going to open your business, or if you're going to travel and you need this COVID test, please feel free to stop by. It's at no cost to you. But with that, I thank you all, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.